What is it like playing alongside, Saha, obviously?
He's kind of always giving me feedback in terms of just like what my body language is saying in a game, or what I should be positional wise, as what he wouldn't want me to do against him. He would tell me, you know what I'm saying? Little things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So I've been him. He's been here for he came here in the summertime or so last year,
Yeah.
and he's given me so much advice in that way, and just what to expect and to see the difference, especially when I came from Charlotte and then go to the international stage. It's like he's helped me kind of been in that to gel into it. So he's always been good. I always ask questions, and he's obviously the unk in the team, so he holds it down for us. But
Does that make Tim Ream the grandpa? I think that's what that makes him.
Yeah.
I have some great news for you. As you've probably expertly deduced, we're back with the Player Manager Podcast. I'm Zealand Shannon. That's Julian Gressel. And we have a guest for you today. One of the new members of the U.S. men's national team, Patrick Agyemang. He is going to be joining us later. One of the bright spots of a Nations League campaign that didn't quite go exactly how we hoped it would, but I am excited to catch up with him, the forward for Charlotte, who's now playing with Wilf Zaha. But first, I want to catch up with you, Julian. How are you doing?
I'm good. We had last week a trip to LA.
Well, that doesn't
Where
suck. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. And then we got back. Well, the result wasn't nice.
Yeah. Well,
we got back. The result wasn't great at home either yesterday. So, but overall, it's been good. I've been good. How are you? I know you've had a busy weekend.
I did. I had a wedding this weekend. I just got off the train after one of my dear friends' weddings. And so I didn't watch any ball this weekend at all. So that being said, let's get into it. No, what I did watch was Inter Miami against LAFC. And I didn't watch much of the match because I was incredibly distracted by everybody in the stands, because it felt like it was the Grammys or something. I don't know what was going on. There were so many famous people at that game. Do you notice that when you're on the field? Are you sitting, because I know you were on the team sheet, you're sitting on the bench, and like, do you see these people walking around behind you?
Yeah, you do. Short answer. I mean, so it started off by us getting to the stadium. And the locker room is quite small, so I was actually hanging out a little bit outside of the locker room. And all of a sudden there's like Jimmy Butler and Yassine talking shop. I was like, what is going on? So Jimmy Butler obviously now plays for the Golden State Warriors, a long time Miami Heat player, and Yassine, I guess, knew each other from Jimmy Butler's time here. And they were talking it up a little bit, and I asked Yassine if I could jump in and take a quick picture here, and I got a little 2-3 minute conversation in with Jimmy Butler and a quick pic. So that was pretty cool. And we just talked a little bit about the Netflix show that they had done, about the behind the scenes NBA stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. And he was talking a little bit about that, and about his, their state of mind right now. And he was telling me that Steph Curry and Draymond Green and his Golden State Warrior teammates were also coming to the game. I was like, well, where are they? I want to meet them too. He was like, they're coming a little bit later. So, but that was cool to kind of see him. But then, I saw, who did I fist bump with? Oh, at the bench. It was like halftime. I was sitting on the bench, and benches are like kind of like in new stadiums, they are very much inside the like VIP seats that are like basically floor seats just for MLS games. And Jason Oppenheim from the Oppenheim group, the Selling Sunset guy from Netflix.
I know him.
Yeah.
I know him. He
This
took me on a
bald
night
guy.
out.
Yeah.
Yes. He took me on a night out. You have no idea what memory you just tapped into. He is a huge soccer fan. So if you watch Selling Sunset, you've seen this guy loves soccer. And I'm not even joking, or he was at least involved in it in some way, 15 or 20 influencers to a national team game in Austin. And I was one of them. I'd never met him before, and he was a super nice guy. And he took it. I mean, the national team game was on a Wednesday or something, right? And they put us in a box, and it was really nice. U.S. soccer was very nice to us, and we had a really good time, and the U.S. won. So that was also nice. And then on a Wednesday, I don't even know how, he found a fully operational club in Austin, Texas on a Wednesday. And we that man loves soccer, and he could probably find a good time in a snowstorm. He was an awesome host, great guy, and that's you just that was a sleeping memory for me that you
That's
just woke
funny.
up.
That's funny. Yeah. So I gave him a little fist bump as I got up to go into the locker room at halftime. Right, the whistle. He was like going back to his seat, I think, and I was like, just a little fist bump. It was funny, but yeah, that was kind of my celebrity interactions. I'm sure there were a lot more at the games, or at the game, but that was all I got to do, which is pretty cool.
The actual action on the field wasn't as quite as spectacular as you've alluded to. It ended up being a 1-0 win for LAFC, which means all the marbles back in Miami in the return leg. What were your takeaways from that game? Obviously, this is, I'm pretty sure, the only trophy on the planet Messi hasn't won yet, after not being able to win it last year. And so it all really comes down to one game to see if you guys can get into the next round.
Yeah, it was a tough match, like I think we talked about last week about kickoff time was super late for us. Obviously, we traveled 6-hour flight, like travel and everything was smooth, and we had a good time there. But it's still, at 11:30 p.m. your body clock time, it's very difficult to play. But I thought we did a good job, and the game was a good game. It was good teams, two good teams where their guy or they were able to take advantage. In one instance, I think it was probably a deserved tie almost in a sense for me, because we were pushing a little bit and we had some good chances as well. And but they took advantage of that one goal, and it's going to be a tough rematch. They make it difficult on us. They ask a lot of questions, especially in transition, where they're really really tough to break down. They're really sound defensively, which they clog the middle, which obviously we we have good players that like to play through the middle a lot, and it makes it, yeah, it makes it difficult to break down. Simple as that, and makes it difficult to create really good scoring chances. And we still were able to do it. Unfortunately, we didn't, have the day, to like the quality on the day to put them away. And but at the same time, 1-0 is not that big of a mountain to climb. It's a mountain to climb, but not that big of one. And we're certainly at home now. They have to travel. They played in Houston over the weekend, so they've been on the road a long time. But at the same time, we're confident, and we're hoping to obviously go through.
Oh, I mean, for what it's worth, I'm also hoping that you guys go through. If nothing else, because then we have a lot more segments on the podcast to talk about.
That's true.
But CONCACAF Champions Cup quarterfinal rolls on. We'll be covering that match, I believe, in the next podcast that we are able to do. There are a few other MLS and football world news and notes that we wanted to hit on before we welcome Patrick onto the show. The first of which is a particularly exciting development for people like Julian that love to strike a nice clean pass every now and again. Kevin Debruyne is potentially moving to MLS. The news broke over the weekend that he is not going to be re-signing with Manchester City, which any time in the last couple of years a major player like KDB has made that sort of announcement, there seems to be a two-pronged option. It's MLS or Saudi Arabia. And what are your well? And KDB was rumored around San Diego for a long time, so there is smoke here, even if the fire hasn't been found yet. What do you make of these rumors and a player like KDB joining the league?
I mean, first of all, sad to see his time in Man City come to an end. I was
Honestly,
massive fan of his. Probably one of my favorite players for a few years. I think a few years back, maybe, where obviously very similar to kind of the way I play as well, with a good right foot, great passer, assists, able to kind of play in many different positions, being effective in many different positions. So certainly a guy I tried to model my game after a little bit, there for some years. And it's tough to see him kind of have that stop, and not be able to watch Man City with him anymore. But yeah, if he comes to MLS, I think he's still a top player. I think he's probably still got a few years in him. I know he's had obviously some injury issues here and there that have kept him out for a little bit, but at the same time, you want those stars to be part of the league. You want to have that good mix, that good balance of young up and coming quality players that drive the league forward in order to be, you can become a selling league in a way, but you also want to raise the profile of the league by, having players like him, come to MLS. I think still maybe not on the 3-4 year deals, that are happening, but certainly to him and Thomas Müller would be two great additions, for example, coming in next year. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, it's cool to not cool to have him kind of end his stint in Man City, but at the same time, cool to see MLS teams interested, and I get to potentially play against him, and see firsthand for what type of player he is, and stuff.
I mean, I hadn't even thought about the fact that we'd never get to see Kevin De Bruyne screamer in a Manchester City shirt anymore. Because
Yeah,
I'll do you one better. I think people always ask, "Well, who's your favorite player?" And stylistically speaking, me being me, I break my answer down into a couple different categories. Okay, my favorite American player is Clint Dempsey, right? That's just the one that he's the spirit animal of that team. Who's the best player? Messi, right? Like I have my answers for those things. Who's my favorite player stylistically? The answer has always been KDB, because I think the explanation is he does every fundamental thing super well.
Yep.
He's not hitting you with the step overs. He's not trying to Rabona. He's not rolling around all over the place, right? He just does every fundamental thing. I'm going to get the ball from A to B. It's going to go here. It's going to go here. This touch is going to be perfect. I'm where I'm supposed to be. He does it better than anyone. He was like the best possible version of a standard player. So like if you took every attribute in FIFA or whatever and just cranked it all the way up. So we'll miss him.
But that's exactly the type of player I feel like I am. Right? I'm not the guy that does step overs, that takes guys on. Obviously, nowhere near the level Kevin De Bruyne is at. But like I said, a great player to kind of identify with and to try and be like, and those types of qualities. I feel like I have some of those. Like I said, not to the extent Kevin De Bruyne was at, but certainly kind of great to always take pointers from. But Zealand, I wanted to go back. I had a favorite MLS moment that we didn't get to cover in the beginning. And I want to start
favorite
out,
MLS moment.
Yes, I want to start this out by asking you a little trivia question.
Ooh.
Who and for what team did that person play for? Who scored the first ever MLS goal?
San Jose, I think, was the team. I don't know why I know that. So that's right. I mean, 94.
No, 96. 96.
96. Oh, yeah. World
96.
Cup is 94. Okay. World Cup is 94. League 96.
I
got to guess something. Okay.
He's somewhat of a media personality, one of our colleagues as well by now.
Taylor, no, it's not Twelman. He never played there. No. I was gonna say Brian McBride, but then I knew my answer changed.
So it was.
I don't know.
Eric Winalda.
Winalda on the left foot, keeping it on the right now, looking for the shot, gets it far post, goal! Goal for Eric Winalda!
For the San Jose Clash, it was on April 6th, 1996. So yesterday we had the game San Jose versus DC United in San Jose, 30-year anniversary, 30 years after they play on the same day. Against each other again. San Jose versus DC United was the first ever MLS game, and yesterday they played again. That was my favorite MLS moment of the week. And to top it all off, my guy Josef Martinez scored a hat trick in that game. San Jose beat DC 6-1, I think, in that game yesterday, and just like back in 1996, San Jose beat DC United. Yeah.
I thought you were going to tell me Winalda came off the bench to score, and that was gonna top the whole thing off. That would have been a surprise. All right, we got all your MLS notes in. After this break, we're talking to Patrick Agyemang. We're back, and we finally have what you've all been waiting for. Pat Agyemang is with us, the newest member of the U.S. men's national team. Thank you so much for joining us, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, nah, top.
I love it. We're becoming like this. We're becoming this Charlotte podcast. Now we've had 2 players on from Charlotte FC. So Patrick plays for the people who don't know, he plays for Charlotte FC right now in MLS. Newest member of the U.S. men's national team with 4 caps, all coming in this year.
Yeah.
But we've had on Tim Ream before. So did he give you any tips? Did you tell him about jumping on the podcast or no?
No, actually, we didn't talk about it, if I'm honest.
Wow. You're gonna have to give Tim a call. You know, he's not advertising it enough. The debut moment though, something I'm always so interested in. We've obviously talked about Julian's before because he's gone through the same thing. As somebody that is about 10 miles away from playing for any national team anywhere, I can't even imagine what's going through your mind the first time you get, what is it? It's an email, right? You get an email that says, hey, you're coming to camp.
Yeah.
And how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually training at the time. And then the technical director and called me on my phone. And I was like, oh, why is he calling me? Because it was like off season, whatever. So I was like, why is he calling me? And then yeah, he told me, and I was just like, that's crazy. Like it was nuts. Like I'm just telling my brother was next to me. He's like, what happened? Why are you acting like that? I was like, bro, just got called, and he's like, what? So yeah, it was just like a crazy moment. And then I got the email, and then they called me as well, and it was just like, oh wow, like we're really doing this.
Yeah, so I guess when it's the first call up for you, you get a call from your technical director. This is from Charlotte, I'm guessing, the technical director? Yeah. So they get the email. The club gets the email as well as you as a player. So I guess they found out a little bit earlier before Pat, and they got to tell him, which is pretty cool. So did you train? Did you continue to train a little bit harder that day, or were you done?
I was all set. I was all set, man. I said my work is done. Nah, I'm joking. It was at the end of my training session, so like I just went to my phone after I finished, and then I seen all.
Nice.
How did your family react when you told them?
Yeah, it was so funny. So obviously I was training my brother, so he was with me in the moment, and we got home. Once he got home, my dad finished up work. He got home, and I was like, Dad, take a seat real quick. He's like, what's going on? Why you gotta talk to me like this? Just take a seat. We gotta tell you something. And then I told him. He started jumping around. My mom came home after. She was like jumping around as well. It was like a whole celebration. Like it was as if they won like a big game, or it was as if they got called in. So it was definitely like such a surreal moment. It was like very emotional for them too. But it was nice just to be able to do that. It feels like all their hard work is starting to pay off in what's going on with me.
And obviously that's one moment, but then the next moment is when you play, which was January against Venezuela. That was the debut.
Yeah.
Right. And even though it's just a friendly, and we're going to get to the Nations League stuff in a second, what is going through your head when you're pulling the jersey on, when you're going out on the field? I mean,
yeah, it was a lot. In a good way though. So for me, I always have like a routine where I'm always talking about my family and just being in check with them, because they're not like with me. They're in Connecticut, and I'm here wherever I'm at. So I always call them, just check up on them through the day. But when I was like finding out I was starting, I was like, all right, you gotta lock in a little bit, like you have time to show what you can do, but go out there and enjoy it. But once I got into the locker room and I seen the jersey, seen my name, just seeing the whole setup, I'm like, oh, like we're really doing this right now. And it's all I've always looked forward to as a kid. Like, you always wanted to at least make some international debut at some degree. And it was the fact that it came this window. I was just like, bro, this is like, who's writing the script, So that was definitely surreal.
Yeah. So for me, you guys obviously trained at our facility, right? This was January camp. So you were in Fort Lauderdale, and this game was actually at our stadium in Fort Lauderdale. So I was like, as we finished up training, you guys would usually start. So when I was up at lunch, I would be like looking out to like the 2 fields past. I'd be like, wait, is Pat starting? Because it was, I remember, like we just talked about before we started recording, that we had the same agent. So he was like asking me a little bit. He didn't want to ask you too much about how it's going and stuff. So he was asking me if I knew something, and I was like, honestly, no. I think it was a pretty tough camp for you guys because it was preseason, from what I heard. But yeah, it was awesome to see you be part of that group and kind of get your shot, and then also you taking advantage of it in the game, by making an impact right away with a goal and being able to contribute and do what you do best.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate it. Were you able to see if I was starting though?
Oh no, I wasn't, because you guys didn't really train. You guys didn't
Yeah,
really
yeah,
train. I saw some set pieces and I was like, wait, that 6'4" guy, you were sticking out a little bit in that group. So, but I was like, if that's the starting group or not, I don't know. But I was hoping, obviously. So
yeah.
when,
No, I
when I
really
saw it and
appreciate
when I
it.
watched the game, it was awesome. It was awesome to see.
No, I really appreciate it, man.
And then the next window, obviously, is the Nations League window, which is somebody who makes a living just kind of chirping on social media about everything going on. We've obviously talked about it at length, but I'm very curious to know, because we've talked about, obviously, on this podcast already how it went, which wasn't particularly great. You were actually one of the standouts kind of in the direction trying to pull the team back. But I'm curious to know how Pochettino approached that disappointment, while you guys were going through that, and it obviously didn't go well. It was the first time the U.S. wasn't able to win it. What was he like, and what was the dressing room like when you guys were going through that?
Yeah, I mean, everyone was disappointed. It was obviously not the way we wanted it, and they emphasized like this is definitely something like we have to learn from, because at the end of the day, these tournaments aren't just given to you. Like, you have to work and win these tournaments, like, and you have to take every session, every game like very seriously. So I think for everyone it was like kind of a, all right, we know that this can't happen again. We got to get results, especially as a playing for the U.S. You got to get results in these tournaments, and going forward for the World Cup, you want to be in a great position. So we know that now going forward, it's every training, every game. It's like you got to give your all and like just do your best to get the result.
Was there anything Poch said like after the last game? I'm just curious, like what note it was all left on.
Yeah, it was main thing was like we all know how good like we can be. You know how good he can be, and everyone was like, yeah, we like. He was like, you guys feel like he didn't really show it. Like, we didn't show it as a team, um, and that has to change going forward. Um, you have to like wear the badge with pride, and when you get on the field, you got to give it all you got. So it's like the main emphasis was like, we know we can do better. Everyone knows we can do better, and we have to work at that. Going back to where you go, your clubs and stuff, and everything has to be like giving it your all, no matter what. So when the next camp comes in, everyone's firing, ready to go, because that's like a big statement as well for the Gold Cup.
Yeah, so obviously the next tournament or the next meaningful games are the Gold Cup games, I think, over the summer. Has obviously you started this year in January, right, with Pochettino and the staff and the national team in general. Has the coaching staff spoken directly to you about, your role moving forward, what they expect out of you, obviously, what, you can provide that maybe is not on the roster? Obviously you are a different type of striker that isn't really, we don't have many, 6'4" guys up there that can also run, and they're physical, that, kind of also well-rounded, I think. And so have they given you any tips that you now take to Charlotte into this MLS season to then be part of the Gold Cup and, obviously big picture next year in the summer?
Yeah, main thing was for me to like my intensity and everything, and then obviously with the build-up play, it's like they just want me to really show what I can do like on the field. He emphasized to me was pretty much how I play, being very direct, and like creating spaces for myself, not only for myself but teammates as well. And he was like, I just want to be able to see you always causing defenders problems and all these things. He emphasized again, like, I honestly don't really like. He never said like where he doesn't care where anyone plays, as long as you're playing and showing that you deserve to be back, you'll be back, kind of thing. So he said he obviously like to call me in. He trusted me and believes that I have something that's different, or he likes what he's saying. But now it's for me to like continue on that with my game and showing it on the field. So his thing was just show it like every game, every day, every training, and all these things. So.
And of course, the big looming piece of all of this is that kind of once in a lifetime opportunity of a home World Cup in 2026 is lurking around the corner. So obviously, the first call you get where you're, it's like now you realize that it's a possibility you could be a part of that team, and how much does that factor into the way that you think about the national team and you work to get after it?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I wanted. You want your name to be in that pool. You want your name to be in conversations, and I think I've done a good job in doing that. But now it's like, all right, let's not make this a one-time thing. You get called in. I got called into the Jam Camp, and I got called into the Nations League. Like, let's not just make that the last time you get called in. So it's now for me doing even more to get back in those positions, because at the end of the day, as long as I'm doing what I can do, that's all I can really control. And if I'm doing well, hopefully they'll pick me. If not, then I just got to do even more. It's just like one of those things where it brings another motivational factor for me, and I think it just makes me hungry.
I love that. I love that answer because it. I'm sorry, Z, but it just like it boils it down, right? Like you have this bigger picture thing, right? That is there next year, the World Cup 2026, where you want to be a part of, but you don't get there by just wanting to get there. You get there by actually taking the step today, tomorrow, the next day, one day after the other, and from game to game. And Pochettino's telling you that if you do your job the right way, you bring the quality in MLS games and wherever you play, you're going to be part of that group, and you got to trust in that. You got to believe in that. And it's a really, like, you simplify it all, right? It's like, okay, what can I do today in order for this goal to maybe be achieved, by next year? But, and that's really the mindset I try and give younger players, to just, focus on today and what you can do today and tomorrow to have your bigger aspirations and goals be achieved, in the coming years. And, that is obviously a massive one, right? But I want to go maybe to, I think we're kind of working backwards a little bit. Usually we start with like how you've come up in your college. Your college career is insane, by the way. We got to talk about that a little bit, but I guess maybe to take a step to the club level for this, how do guys like Tim Ream, right, or guys who has been a part of the national team forever, or guys like now Wilfried Zaha, right, big time players, that have done it, in Europe, that have done it there, and how do they help you, right, get to that level or bring the best out of you almost every week in order to then be in the mix for that? What is some of the pointers they've given you, especially, Zaha, obviously a striker, with Tim, he's more of a defender, so I don't know how many pointers he gives you as a striker up there, but how have they kind of helped you, and what is it like playing alongside, Zaha, obviously, as well?
Yeah. With Tim, Tim like was with me with the first camp, but he just kind of he's kind of a guy that like gives you advice, but he's like, I can't really tell you too much until you experience it as well. So like I was like, all right, cool, let me experience it. So as I was going, he's like just checking in, like, you understand what I'm saying, and this and this and this. Like, just the little things, when things happen, he would like bring it up. And for me, it's cool because I'm a guy that likes to ask a lot of questions, and the same way I do it with, like, I ask a lot of questions, and he's kind of always giving me feedback in terms of just like what my body language is saying in a game, or what I should be positional wise, as what he wouldn't want me to do against him. He would tell me, you know what I'm saying? Little things like that.
Yeah.
So he's been here for he came here in the summertime or so last year, and he's given me so much advice in that way, and just what to expect and to see the difference, especially when I came from Charlotte and then go to the international stage. It's like he's helped me kind of been in that to gel into it. So he's always been good. I always ask questions, and he's obviously the unk in the team, so he holds it down for us. But
does that make Tim Ream the grandpa? I think that's what that makes him.
Yeah. With Wolf, it's cool because obviously he's a different kind of like player. Like, he's been in the Prem, he's done in the Prem, he's shown his qualities, and he definitely is very an expressive guy. And I get to ask a bunch of questions on how he wants to play, how we can combine and make plays and stuff like that. And he just like gives me his advice on what he thinks. Like, he's been really cool just learning, because like he's played with a lot of different strikers, and now he's playing with me. So he's giving me advice on what worked with him and different strikers, and I'm trying to understand that and see the plays and all these things. So obviously it's still early, but I think as time goes, like, it'll start to click more, and it'll just be like a free flowing thing.
Absolutely.
You're saying watch out for Charlotte. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
Nah.
Nah.
But Julian referenced it, and if you thought we were going to make it through this without bringing up the Eastern Connecticut Warriors, you're wrong. Because you
Easttown
took that
Warriors,
very the uniquely American path that you took into professional soccer, right? Which is you go to smaller college, transfer into like a top level college, and then get drafted into MLS. It's something that breaks Americans or breaks non-Americans' brains when I try to explain it to them. What do you like now that you're playing with guys like Wilfred Zaha and playing at this top professional level? What differences do you think that sort of development track takes compared to what most of the people in the world go through? I know Julian probably has some thoughts on that too.
What a question.
Yeah, that was a good question. I mean, it's kind of crazy because like each time I went, it was like I have adjustment periods. Like I have this big adjustment period, and then once I get adjusted, like I'm like, all right, now I gotta take my game here. And it was like that when I got from high school. When I went to Eastern, I was like, yeah, this is different. I had like all preseason, I wasn't on it. I was like, all right, I gotta like figure out this to get myself in the squad. Finally got myself in the squad, and I was like playing. And at the time, I wasn't really thinking. A lot of people may think like I thought this at the time, but I really wasn't. I wasn't really thinking of like leaving, if that makes sense. Like I went there and I was like, I want to be the best player here, and hopefully it sets me up for the future. Like I've always had that aspiration, but I wasn't so big on like I have to be the best in order to go. It was more like I just hoped to do well. I was in the moment in there, and so I played there for 2 years, and then like COVID hit, and COVID pretty much changed everything for me because I trained with a lot of guys, and once I started training with all these guys, there was one guy that I trained with who's one of my best buddies now, and he went to Rhode Island, and he told his coaches about me. So it was like I wasn't planning on transferring, if I'm honest. And he just told me, he was like, "Yo, coach likes you. I think you should get in the portal." I was like, "Oh shoot, like this is real." So like the whole process, it went like so quick because at that time it was fall 2020. I'm like starting to apply for classes for the spring 2021, and I had to like halt that, figure out if I was gonna leave or not. It was just nuts. But then I went to Rhode Island a month or two after that, and it was the same thing, adjustment period and everything. But like I think for me it was the mentality part that I've gained from this. It's like nothing will be given to me, but as long as I go for it and keep going, like who could stop me, kind of thing. That's the kind of mentality I got from it. Because I went to Rhode Island, people were like, "What's he doing at Rhode Island? Like, what's going on?" I do well on Rhode Island, and then I end up getting drafted, and they're like, "Yo, this is crazy." It's like the same people that may have doubted me in the beginning now are like, "Yo, I'm so proud of you." Like, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah. What sticks out to me in that answer is something so profound that I think anybody can kind of take away from an interview like this is just being present. Trying to be the best that you can be in your given situation at this given moment, and then other opportunities will present itself down the line. Like you said that he talked about, being in Division III. I mean, he scored a ton of goals, 36 games, I think 30 goals. If I'm not mistaken, and then
adjustment period, Julian. There was an adjustment period.
Big adjustment period. Then obviously you go to the University of Rhode Island, which is inferior to Providence College, just to throw that out there. And then
I actually don't like Providence. No, I'm joking.
And then it's you continue on that path. You continue to be like, all right, what do I need to do here to get into the squad and to play and to prove that I can play Division I, where all these people are doubting me. And then you get drafted, and then you have the same thing again in Charlotte, where you have a DP striker sitting there, right in front of you, but all of a sudden the coach is turning to you in the big games, and now I'm not going to lie to you, Pat, but every time we prepared for you guys, our center backs were like, oh, this guy, he's going to run. He's going to make it tough. Like you talk about make it hard on defenders, right? What Pochettino wants from you. That's exactly what you're doing. And to do that, don't change that, please. Keep that kind of kind of mentality of just trying to be present, and that's really what sticks out to me in the moment. I know it's not a question, but it just kind of want to hammer that home a little bit, because it's so important, not just in what we do, but in what everybody does in life. I think it's such a cool lesson to kind of take away.
I feel like, speaking as the one person that didn't play college soccer, that it requires more of a self-starter nature. I feel like if you're in an academy, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but if you're in an academy in Europe, in South America, you're on a conveyor belt, kind of, and it carries you along to a certain destination. If you're good enough, then they're not going to push you off. Where in college soccer, it feels more like you're more of a mercenary. You're out there on your own. You happen to be training with somebody, and then they know somebody else, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're a Ram, right?
Yeah.
That didn't happen to me. They just told me I was bad, which was fair. So, and I mean, that's what the Julian's point out, what stuck out to me. That's what stuck out to me too. And I think that's what defines guys that really succeed out of the draft. I mean, what's the draft like?
The draft.
Much different for you than for me, right?
Yeah.
What was it like for you?
The draft was, it was like one day, because we had the college showcase, so like our combine, so we played in front of like, I don't know, all the teams in the MLS, I want to say, and you have to like kind of make your name there or do what you got to do. But the draft day comes, and it's like I had these cameras set up, like they sent cameras or whatever, so you set them up or whatever, and I'm just like, am I setting this up not to get picked? Like, I better get picked if I'm setting this up. Like, I had all my family there, and I'm just like sitting down, and I'm so anxious. I'm like, yo, like, I pray I'm getting picked in this draft, because like obviously that's a big goal of mine, and it was crazy because like you're just sitting around hearing people's names go and stuff, and then like I remember they said like the 12th pick got traded up for Charlotte, traded up for it. And I'm just like, oh, who are they going for now? And then like they said my name, and I was just like, yeah, this is crazy. Like, it was definitely. I remember like the whole play of the day. It was crazy.
So no idea you were gonna go there. Nothing.
No, so it was weird because I had like the interview with them, like I interviewed like multiple teams there, and after the Charlotte interview, I was like, I would love to be here. Like the way they were having the conversation and how they're talking to me, like I think that this would be a good spot for me, kind of thing. But obviously, you say it to yourself, but you just keep pushing because you don't know who else you're gonna talk to. And so after I left, I was like, maybe, but I'm not sure. And then happened, and I was just like, all right, cool.
Yeah, this is very different than to what I experienced, because my draft was still in person, so I was actually at a convention center.
Oh, you had the
stage
suit
was
on
set
and
up.
everything.
Yeah, I had the suit. I had to give a speech after I got picked, and everything.
That's crazy.
I'm pretty sure this just means I'm old, dude. It's not that great.
Considering the names you guys were throwing out, but Sasho, what do you know about Julian Gressel?
He can play. He scored every time he's played against us. He says we didn't play far this year. He scored 2 goals. He's a terrific young player.
No, but I think it was one of the last ones, and that was a cool experience. But at the same time, you're there with your family. Like my family wasn't there, so that's something I would have loved to share with my family. You mentioned in the very beginning of this interview that you are a family man. You were training with your brother back when you find out about the national team. I had a really quick question for you. Was there ever a thought for you to not take that U.S. men's national team call up, and to kind of see where the whole Ghanaian thing with your parents or anything like that, or was it always the U.S. And Ghana wasn't really in the picture for you?
No, I mean, like I grew up in a Ghanaian household, so it's like obviously that was a thought when I was growing up. I always watched them. I watched them like I would love to play for Ghana, like or I would love to play because I honestly watched Ghana and U.S. for mine, so I'll be like, at the end of the day, these are both where I'm like from, so it's like I enjoyed both watching both. But I was like, you watch the World Cup, especially like 2010 sticks out to me all the time, and like I'm watching Ghana, they're doing all these celebrations and just the fans. I was just like, oh, that looks so fun, of course. Yeah. As I grew up and stuff, I said, like, obviously, I try not to worry too much about it because I just don't want to put it into my head too much. But whoever obviously was, like, interested in me or like reach out to me was what I was gonna
Go
honestly
with,
like just and just explore. Like I have conversations before, like I make decisions, of course, but like and then the U.S. came, my dad, mom was just like, yeah, we're happy, and I was like, cool,
Awesome.
that was it.
That's cool. That's cool, man.
No, I just always find that topic so interesting because I'm like just annoyingly American. Like I can't even find a way to get an EU passport for travel purposes. You know what I'm saying? So I not that I would have been able to play for those national teams either, but the concept, I think it's more and more in the modern world too. There's more people that end up with, I mean, what did Yunus Musa have? 4 or 5 nationalities that he could have played for. And that's it's always interesting to hear people's unique perspective on how they approach that, that sort of thing. Because obviously Julian, kind of the same deal. I imagine explaining the draft to your family would have been weird.
Yeah, but by that time I was in college for 3.5 years. They figured it out.
What do you want to do with the rest of your career? Because that's a question that people that are in MLS get asked a lot. And anytime we have somebody that's maybe only played in MLS, we always like to ask it. But I feel like based off all the other things we've talked about, there's already an answer that I can anticipate. But where do you see that your career is headed? Like if you're designing your perfect career right now, maybe what happens in it? Where do you play? Who do you play for?
My ideal would definitely be like I just want the experience of the Champions League night, if I'm honest. I always say that. Just like that. It's like I want to experience those kind of games, and like a World Cup as well. So those are like things I'm aiming for. I've always had that in my mind, but obviously you take steps to benefit yourself and where you're at in the club, and then you go from there. But those are definitely things that like I want to check off.
Like
like
the Champions League anthem.
Yeah, like that's one of my dreams, just hearing that song. So maybe, hopefully, we'll see.
That's awesome. But for that, you know, you got to stay present in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, you know. I love
Exactly.
that. We wish you obviously all the best. Thanks for jumping on here and talking a little bit with us. Maybe we'll have you back on at some point. That would be great.
Fine.
Just before the World Cup next year, as you get picked for the.
No, thank you for having me, guys. Big time. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you again to Patrick for joining the podcast. And we would like to give a shout out to one more very important person in all this. You. Whoever's listening, whoever's watching. We asked last week for you to list where you are listening from. And we wanted to pick a few and give a shout out. So shout out to Florida, California, Tennessee, Massachusetts, Texas, Arizona, Greece, and Australia. Wow. Thank you guys for.
Wow, I love that.
How many time zones? How many time zones did we cover with that?
I love crazy. That. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, that dude in Greece. We appreciate you. Love the food. Also, I just want to say, big fan. That is a wrap, though. Thank you again for Patrick joining us. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you to our producer and Julian for putting up with me rescheduling this because I had a wedding. They were very amenable, so we were able to get this show in this week. And thank you guys for listening. If you are watching, or if you're not watching, maybe you could subscribe on YouTube and join the journey and check out my forehead and his fantastic hair and everything else we have to put on display for you. But thank you guys so much. We'll catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.